Good morning, good morning. It is Monday, the 13th of May, 2024, and I'm Graham Hughes. Hello, everyone. We've got great Gal, Faye, and Ren in the chat. We've got Benjamin, hello. We've got Peter Carter in there. We've got Reagan Elite. Hey, Reagan, how you doing? We've got Ivan in there as well. Paul Ewan, Lofty the Softy, morning. How you doing? Billy Kershaw, Alex French. We've got Michael Warner, who's reading my audio book of Man of the World at 1.25 times speed, which I don't recommend. Because I talk very, very fast in the audio book because I had to get it done very quickly. Hello all, says the Cheese Factor. Hi, how's it all going? So I'm going to start off today with the story that Rishi Sunak is going to make a speech later today setting out the things we should be scared of in the next 5 years if we don't elect a Tory government. And they are war, migration, and AI. There are three things there: war, immigration, and AI. And he's going to protect us from all those things somehow. He's a bit vague because we don't actually have the text of the speech. He hasn't made it yet. But it's been reported on the covers of pretty much all the newspapers. Should we have a quick look at the newspapers to just see? We've got the Daily Star there, which is a thing about weather, of course, because it's the Daily Star. But then we've got PM's bold vision for stark choices facing Britain. That's from the what is this? This is the Express. This is from the Express. PM, this is the Daily Tory graph. The Britain safer under Tories for dangerous years ahead. Okay. There's a story in the Times which is saying that the sick note culture is fueled by the obesity crisis. And this is the cause and effect of Tory policy. The fact that they've made it so that fruit and veg goes off really, really quickly. So unless you do 2 shops a week, which most people don't have the time to do, your fruit and veg is going to go off before you get some more. And fruit and veg has gone up in cost because of Brexit, because of Tory policy, because of austerity, because of all the terrible things the Tories have done. People are spending more on their rent. They're spending more on their mortgages than ever before. Back in the 1980s, when I was a kid, your mortgage or your rent was around 9% of your income. Now it's around 33% of your income. Great days. Apparently this is, it's caused by people who are overweight. And I'm like, okay, but the reason they're overweight is because it's very, very difficult now to eat healthily and get as many calories as you need by eating healthily. People don't have the time because they're working 3 jobs and they don't have the money because everything is more expensive because Brexit, because austerity, because of the kamikaze budget, because Tories. We'll move on. There's the lady who played Lady Diana, Princess Diana in The Crown there, who didn't win an award last night. Union, I don't know why she's on the cover then. Here's someone who didn't win an award at the BAFTAs. Union boss Elphick says Elphick is, Union boss Elphick, because you imagine, is incompatible with Labour. I don't disagree. But there you go. The Daily Mail, one of the client Tory newspapers, along with the Times and the Telegraph and the Express. Rishi, not Sunak, but Rishi warns UK is entering a dangerous era because of war and migration and AI. And then we've got this Mirror investigation. This is quite cool. This is the Mirror pointing out the hypocritical lies of the Tories. They obsess over the sale of Angela Rayner's home, while 4 of their MPs won't reveal whether they paid tax on the £5 million they made, £5 million they made from taxpayer-funded properties. Nice. There's no hypocrisy like Tory hypocrisy. I've got a couple of super chats, which I'm going to have to jump to if my computer would let me. Top of the world, says Pineapple Boy, question mark. As soon as... I'll tell you what, I keep saying I'm gonna get it done. I'm working on it very, very slowly in time when I have time spare. But I'll tell you what, we think the election's going to be November the 19th, right? So I'll tell you what, after that, I really do plan to just spend a month away, just digital detox. And what I might do is spend that time working, a bit of manual labour, but also writing my book. So yeah, but hopefully. Ivan Ambrose, £5 super chat, thank you so much. No, the Tories will never save us. They're causing far more mental health problems. How dare they? Well, exactly, Ivan. Absolutely couldn't agree more. And also, Freckle Puny, thank you very much for the super chat. Very kind. Sunak is the salesman still pitching the product, called out as unsafe by trading standards and as a scam by Martin Lewis. Very, very true. Rise in 40-year mortgages as millions face repayments into retirement. This is a disgraceful situation with house prices in the UK, artificially inflated, caused by manufactured scarcity. The Tories make sure that their Tory voters, the elderly Tory voters, not all elderly people vote Tory. I'm talking specifically about elderly people who vote Tory. Okay, nobody else, just them, right? They like the fact that their house price keeps going up each year, even though they don't do anything to make that price go up, because it makes them feel like the Wolf of Wall Street. It makes them feel like the greatest investor who ever lived. But if you flood the market with loads of new housing, then house prices will stay the same or go down. And they don't want that, even though a house is worth a house. And these people aren't going to move out. They're going to stay there until they cark it, or until they can't take care of themselves anymore, and then they'll have to pay off. They'll have to sell the house in order to pay off the care home fees to a private care home company, because all the state-run care homes are pretty grim, and the only nice ones are the private ones that the Tories have as an option. Bye house. Yeah, indeed. I'll go back to the other screen now in a moment, because I need to turn off the intro, because otherwise the intro will come on, which is really annoying when I flick between screens and then like an animation that I hadn't turned off flashes back up on the screen. Anyway, that sometimes happens. So yeah, let's talk about war. Let's talk about AI. Let's talk about migration. This is what Rishi Sunak's going to save us from. And that Labour aren't going to save us from. So let's talk about war first. The Tories have consistently decreased the size of the army. The army is now the smallest it's been since the 1600s, apparently, the standing army of the UK. And the Tories have put money into flappy bollocks like these massive aircraft carriers that don't have any aircraft on them. And it's like, is that the best use of our resources, shiny new aircraft carriers, when drone technology has got to a point now where we should really be investing in that? Like, why didn't you just make a 1,000 drones for the same price? Probably, actually, no, you can make way more than that. Making them for about £2.50 in Iran at the moment. But it just shows that the Tories are always behind the curve. You saw this with Boris Johnson when he's been interviewed by a select committee, and he was talking about how tanks weren't needed anymore. We don't have tank warfare. Yeah, news to the people of Ukraine, who were invaded by tanks, by the Soviet tanks, by the Moscow tanks, sorry, the Putin tanks. Yeah, all right, mate. And now they're saying, oh no, we're going to do a record investment compared with last year. And they keep doing this. They say, 2 years ago, this was the inflation rate. 2 years ago, this was the interest rate. 2 years ago, this was how much we spent on the NHS. This is how much we spent on the military. And it's always like, yeah, you're comparing your figures to your own figures there. And they keep trotting out the lie about Labour leaving the economy in a worse place than they found it. Absolute bollocks. Labour doubled the size of our economy between 1997 and 2010. They doubled the size of it, and it hasn't grown since because of the Tories. Johnny Copperhead, thank you very much for the super chat. That's very kind of you. Tories have a perfect solution to Britain's nosebleed. Apparently, all we have to do is to let them carry on bopping us in the face for another 5 years. Yeah, Johnny. I mean, look what you made me do. It's like that. It's like that Taylor Swift song called "Look What You Made Me Do." It reminds me of like when you were a kid. I was a younger brother of 4, so I had 2 older brothers and a sister. But my 2 older brothers would love to pin me to the ground and grab my hand and sort of punch me in the face with my own hand, because they were stronger than me. My older brother was like 11, well, he still is. He's 10 and a half years older than me. So he would delight in doing this. He would just, punch me in the face. And he'll say, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? And that's what the Tories do. Pin you to the ground, and they get your hand and they hit you in the face with your hand. And I'm like, why are you hitting yourself? You're like, get off me, you bastard. Wait till I'm big. I'll get you back. I did want to break my older brother's finger as a kid, which was fun. That'll learn him. Right, anyway, so Hi, Mike, if you're watching. The Tories are going to rescue us from the Tories, but they're saying that it's war, it's AI, and it's migration. Let's talk about migration. This is just fascinating. I was having a chat with my mum yesterday about this, about how the Tories have literally created everything the Tories said they were going to save us from. So the big one is migration. The big one is the fact that 1.3 million people came here from other countries last year. And about 500,000 Brits left. The only reason why the net migration figures are around 800,000 is because 500,000 Brits left. They left the country to go somewhere else because of the state of this country, which is understandable on many levels because, oh my God, have you seen the state of this country at the moment? But yeah, the fact that so many people are coming over is because of Brexit. So the very thing that people voted for because there were too many brown faces in the supermarket, or there were too many black people on the telly, or too many, I don't know, Chinese people in the universities, that they're like, oh, we'll stop this happening by stopping European people coming here freely. I'm like, okay. I don't have a problem with people coming from all over the world. People are people, as far as I'm concerned. Oh yeah, but they're gonna come over here and they're gonna swamp us with their culture. We never heard this about the French, did we? There was never a big worry about all the French people living in London who were going to force everyone to eat baguettes and snails and frogs' legs and stuff and make everyone ride a bike with a chain of onions around their neck and a beret on their heads. No one was worried about the Italians who came over here. They go, oh no, next week we'll all be on Vespers going ciao, ciao. I mean, nobody ever said that. Oh, you got to worry about the Spanish. Next thing you know, we'll be eating bull's testicles. I'm like, no, but if people come from Nigeria, if people come from Pakistan, suddenly they're swamping us with their culture. They're gonna make us do the things they do. We're gonna be under halal law. I'm like, halal law isn't a thing in law. It's like there's kosher rules as well around. It's rules for them to live by. If you're a Muslim, you live by like what you eat is halal. If you're Jewish, it's what you eat is kosher, and what you drink is kosher. Like, it's rules for them, not for us. But it's like, oh no, these Jewish people coming over here and they'll make us all eat kosher food. No. It's like, oh no, it's Passover, it's Pesach. Oh, well, they're going to stop the rest of us from eating leavened bread, the bastards. I'm like, no one ever says that. But they do about people from the Indian subcontinent. They love saying it about them. Funny that. But the hilarious thing is, this is completely backfired. So the people who voted for Brexit because they're racists, not everyone who voted for Brexit is a racist. See you next Tuesday's also voted for Brexit, but a lot of people who voted for Brexit did so out of paranoia, prejudice, bigotry, racism. Let's face it, let's be honest. And you know some Brexiteers, get a drink inside them, and they're like, oh, they're all coming over here and taking our jobs, they say. Doing the jobs we don't want to do, more like. But yeah, it's completely backfired on these people who wanted less Muslims in the country, or fewer Muslims in the country. That there's no Muslim countries in the EU. There's Albania, which is in Europe, and it might be joining the EU soon. The Brexiters wanted to make the chief Brexiters, all the private school people who ran the campaign, they to leave the EU. They were saying, oh, Turkey's going to join, ignoring the veto that Britain had on that. Like, no one can join the EU without all the countries in the EU giving permission for that to happen. It's one of the reasons why it might be a bit difficult for Britain to rejoin the EU in future years, which is something that we need to do if you ever want to sort our economy out. Brian Ferguson, thank you very much for the super chat. This morning's Last Week Tonight with John Oliver on YouTube was about Sunak and his Rwanda plan. Funniest coverage ever. Oh, I'll have to watch that after this, Brian. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, I love Last Week Tonight. If you look at the little animation at the side there, that's based on the animation that they have on Last Week Tonight when they have any the words going across the screen. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Anyway, so yeah, but what's interesting about the fact that Rishi Sunak is saying war is a big problem, migration is a problem, and AI is a problem. So let's leave AI to one side for a moment. Migration, if he's saying that's a problem, like, that is 100% on the Tories. They have created a situation where people could come here from Europe, and so jobs were taken by people from Europe. We decided that we don't want European people coming here for whatever reason. So who's going to do those jobs? Who is going to do those jobs? Who's going to do the jobs of being a carer and going around to house to old people and taking care of them and changing them and cleaning them up? Are you going to do it? Are you? Are you? Do you know anyone who's going to do it? No, you're going to get people from Kerala in India, or you're going to get people from Port Harcourt in Nigeria over to do it, because it's a job we British people don't seem to want to do. We've been told to aspire to higher, better things in life, like winning a BAFTA. Ivan, thank you very much for the super chat. Super chats are really, really flooding in today. Thank you so much. It's very generous. Ivan says, I can't wait till Sunak faces the public on the TV debates when the election campaign gets properly underway. Neither can I, mate. And Johnny Copperhead, if we had kosher a few years ago, Ed would have never had that bacon sarnie. Our lives could have been so different. Well, indeed, yes, because he was photographed eating a bacon sarnie in a bit of a weird way. But yeah, so when it comes to war as well, so they've made the migration problem. I don't really see it as a problem. They do. They've made that worse. And then war. Well, the wars that are going on at the moment really are all all spewing out of Moscow. So Moscow has interfered in half of all African countries' governments or legal systems or something in some way through the Wagner Group, which is like now they've changed the name to something imperialist, like the African Expeditionary Force or something like that. Basically, they've been going in, causing instability in countries like Mali and in countries like Cote d'Ivoire and Gabon and places like that. They're just creating instability. Sudan, especially, they're in Libya, and Libya's in civil war at the moment, even though we continue to buy shitloads of oil off Libya each year. I'm going to do a video about that. Then you've got the issues in the Middle East. Obviously, Russia is a big backer of Iran, and who is backing Hamas? Well, it's Iran. They're the ones who fund Hamas. So arguably, if Russia hadn't been buying things off the sanctioned country of Iran, then they wouldn't have the money to be giving to Hamas to buy weapons and carry out the October the 7th atrocities, which led to further atrocities being carried out by the Israeli IDF force. So yeah, I very much see Putin as the spider in the middle of the web in all this. And also, if we look at Iran had come on board. It had come in from the cold. We had a deal under Obama, the Iran nuclear development deal, or nuclear deal. And something that was that was working and was backheeled by Trump, apparently because he didn't like Obama. But the real reason is he got a phone call from Sugar Daddy Vladimir. Hey, would you like some money to help you out with your legal costs? And Trump's like, oh, I like money. Give me money. He's like, okay, well, I'll put some money in your account. You just back out of that Iran deal, that Iran nuclear deal, because it's no good to us. We want to be the only country that trades with Iran, so we can keep them under our thumb. And that's what they do. And and who has empowered Putin, arguably more than any other country in Europe, apart from maybe Belarus? No, actually, we've empowered them more than Belarus, because Belarus is a hilarious basket case that still has full fat fascism going on there. It's a proper autocracy with the one-man strongman rule, who's been in charge since the 90s. No, I'm talking about Britain. Britain has done more to give succor to Vladimir Putin than any other European country. And the reason for that is we allowed Putin to meddle in our Scottish referendum, which we know about, but also in our EU referendum that we haven't even bothered investigating. We allowed Putin to send agents over to our country and murder a British woman on British soil. Dawn Sturgis was murdered by Russian agents acting under the authority of Vladimir Putin. And we had let him do that. Do you think that if we hadn't let Putin get away with murder, if we hadn't put one of his little boys, one of his little, consigliaries, into the House of Lords to be an unelected representative in our state legislature for life, do you think that if that hadn't happened, Putin would have felt empowered enough to done a full-scale invasion of Ukraine? Because I don't. He was like, look what I can get away with. We'll leave America to one side for a moment, because we know that he's balls deep into the Trump administration. Oh God, that's a horrible image. Yeah, we know that he's deeply involved in that, but also Bolsonaro, Erdogan. You've got that little creep in Hungary, Orban. A lot of Russian misinformation, dirty money, bot farms going to getting the right people into power. Putin has been undermining our democracy now for years, and nobody seems to want to stand up to him and stop him, except maybe the Ukrainians, who are having to stand up to him because he's literally murdering scores, thousands of innocent women and children in Ukraine, and has been for the last 2 years. Kharkiv now, where we took our Christmas presents last Christmas, is only 18 miles now from the front line after advances that the Russians have made today, yes, over the weekend, and that advance was made possible by the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene in America and her Putinist allies in the American Congress, who have held up this legislation to give money to Ukraine so Ukraine can bloody well defend itself. And then you've got bad actors like Orban, who is a poison dart in the middle of Europe, in Hungary, and he is giving Putin everything that he wants. He's the guy who blocked the entry of was he blocking Finland for a bit from joining NATO, and then Erdogan was blocking Sweden from joining NATO. Jesus Christ! And then we needed to bribe them. We needed to give them things. And say, okay, I'll let them join. Moscow Marge, yeah. But yeah, so look, when it comes to war, when it comes to the fact that it's 2024 and women and children are still cowering in shelters while bombs are raining down, whether it's coming from the Israelis, whether it's coming from the Russians, whether it's coming from the Saudi Arabians in Yemen, those bombs are landing and they are killing civilians still now in 2024. And Britain, under the Tories in the last 14 years, has been at the root of a lot of this, what is happening. You can trace a line to it. I mean, obviously, instability in the Middle East goes back to the second invasion of Iraq, but it goes back even further than that for Israel, Palestine. But for the Tory leader to be standing up and saying, yeah, war's a big problem, we're going to increase the budget for defence spending, something that we've cut to the bone over the last few years, we're going to increase it now. As a percentage of the GDP, that same GDP that hasn't risen since 2007. So I hope we're not buying anything from any other country for our defence needs, because we're not going to get much bang for our buck, are we? I remember when it was $2 to the pound. Glory days. Anyway, people say, oh, the pound's worth too much. How can it be worth too much? Bugger off. So then we have the last horseman of the apocalypse. You've only got three, which is AI. I thought this was a bit weird. He's going off. She's not going off on about AI, and this is because he wants to portray himself as this fucking tech bro. You know, he's a tech bro, don't you know? he knows how to boot up Windows in safe mode. This is the guy who doesn't know how to fill his car with petrol. So good luck with doing anything particularly technical, mate. But yeah, AI presents a threat. And I disagree with this. And I know I might end up, in a few years' time, it might not be me. It might be an AI avatar of me saying these words back at me. But I don't see AI as such a bigger threat as people are making it out to be. Because it's it's a bit useless. All things being considered, let's take ChatGPT, for instance. ChatGPT, it's got a cut-off in 2021, I think, 2021, because the data up till then, you can guarantee that it's good quality data. Anything after that, you're going to have a huge problem of AI-generated content referencing AI-generated content, and it becomes like a game of telephone or Chinese whispers, where each time it kind of mucks it up a little bit because AI has no sense of context. It is not art. It's not intelligent. It is a really fancy word prediction service. That's all it is. Text prediction. That predictive text. That's the expression. It's just predictive text, but on another level. Here's what I think that you want. Here's what I think you're getting at. And anyone who's spent some time trying to make pictures using AI and it just spitting out the maddest stuff, and you saying, no, I don't want any beans in this picture, and then it puts more beans in the picture, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Plus, AI generated images look AI. They do not look photorealistic. And I think that this may sound a little bit conspiratorial, but I think that your friends and family who insist on sharing beautiful pictures of African children who have made something amazing with plastic bottles or something, and you look at it and you go, that's AI. Like you see it and you go, why are you sharing this? That's like, oh, this is so beautiful. Look at this kid, doing what he can with his bottles, or weird pictures of like Jesus on a shark. I mean, it's just, and people are like, oh, this is wonderful. Isn't this amazing? And I'm like, no, it looks AI, and why are you even showing this? But I think that the Cambridge Analytica, or whatever it's calling itself these days, those type of companies are looking at who shares that kind of AI content, and they're going to be bombarded with AI generated crap come the British election and the American election. That's what it's looking like. Graham, what you're saying is AI is going to feedback loop, rather like Reform Party supporters, says Mike Organ. Yeah. Just like a toxic feedback loop. But yeah, it's so I'm not that worried about AI. We've had Photoshop for decades now. We've had, and before then we had airbrushing of photographs. Obviously, the Soviet regime under Stalin was famous for airbrushing people out of photographs who had been disappeared. And so the manipulation of images, the manipulation of sound, the manipulation of words has been around for a long time. And so it's nothing new. It's just a new way of doing it. And at the moment, it doesn't look real enough. It doesn't sound real enough to actually make the cut of this is real. And I've had this debate with A. Thompson, who's convinced that AI is going to be the death of us all. Hi, Aid, if you're watching. I know I'm misquoting you a little bit there, but I don't see it as such a big problem, because you've got those of us who sort of look at it and go, that's AI, whatever. And then you've got the people on the other side who have been primed by the likes of Trump to talk about fake news. They'll see something real. I mean, these are the people who will see something happen with their own eyes and go, that's not real. I mean, so like, I think, of course, they're more likely to be duped by it in the first instance. But once it's pointed out to them that it's fake news, the idea of fake news has already been planted as a seed in their lizard-like brain. So yeah, might not be too bad. But I see AI at the moment, as it stands, as a useful tool for doing thumbnails for this channel. Sometimes I'll use, when there's like a boring, monotonous task that you've got to do, it's a lot easier to just feed it through ChatGPT and tell it to do it for you. But you've got to check it all. One of the things I use ChatGPT for is if I've got loads of articles to read before I do this show, sometimes I swipe it, copy and paste it into ChatGPT and say summarize into bullet points, and then I can just get the meat of it. But even that is not perfect. Like sometimes it just writes gibberish because it doesn't have any sense of context, like modern architecture. Talking of modern architecture, the Co-op Arena is going to open this week, apparently, finally, with Elbow playing, which is a really, really good band, Elbow from Manchester. But I don't know if it's going to properly open. But also, I just absolutely hate it. I hate that building. I know you've all seen it, probably in the news. It's horrific. It's so bad. Talking of the things being bad, I went out into the back garden after the Labour Social on Friday and saw the Aurora Borealis. I hope everyone got a chance to glimpse it, at least. Don't forget, those photos that you see on the internet are taken with time-lapse cameras. It's not what you see. It looks a bit like a cloud. What you're seeing it when you look outside. But ended up going to Formby Beach on Saturday night with a mate of mine who's a professional photographer to go and get some pictures of the Aurora, and it didn't turn up. There was no Aurora. So we just, yeah. So we just sat on the beach and got some pictures of the stars and the clouds. Good morning, Graham. Oh, my mum's watching. Hi, mum. And we've also got Lee Corn in the chat saying, my brother saw the plane crash into the WTC and said his first response was, it's fake. It's Hollywood special effects. Yeah, I get it though, because when something happens and it's monumental, it is all kind of like so unexpected, so out of our realms of normality that we are shocked by it, then people naturally move towards like, it can't be real because I can't conceive of a world in which that takes place. In fact, I don't want to live in a world in which random horrible things like that take place. I'd rather live in a world that's controlled by people and then things aren't random and there's this lizard Illuminati, one world trade government or something that looks over the whole all over the world, and they do things, they make things happen because that makes sense. But the reality is the world is rudderless. There's no one in charge. Everyone's just making it up as they go along. And who did we have as we have these three things here: war, AI, migration are the three things that Rishi Sunak says are really bad and they're coming to get us. No. He's wrong. He's wrong. There's one thing that's coming to get us, and that's global warming. That's the threat that he doesn't seem to mention. I don't know. I haven't seen his speech yet. He hasn't made it, but in the newspapers, the covers that I've read, and the BBC article about this speech, and the Guardian article, doesn't mention global warming. I mean, one of the reasons why migration is going to rise in the next few years, like perhaps exponentially, is going to be because of climate change. The reason why countries are going to fail is because of climate change. The reason why wars are going to be fought is going to be climate change. And the powers that be are obsessed with keeping the status quo. You know, don't worry, don't look up. And this is why you go on Facebook and there's so many anti-electric car memes. And I'm sure there's some people watching this going, electric cars are the work of the devil. And it's like, whose interest is it for us to keep buying oil from Libya? Because I just can't get that through my head. Or buying gas from Qatar, like, or Saudi Arabia, or got oil from Saudi Arabia, oil from Venezuela, Angola, like getting this resource from halfway around the world and bringing it to here and then distilling it and then pumping it into the ground, and then you have to pump it out the ground to put it in your car. And I'm just like, we can just pluck energy from the wind. We can plug it from the sun, and then we can plug our car into it. That's what we need to be doing. That's what we need to be focusing on. Rishi Sunak can't do anything about AI. What's he going to do? He's going to bring in laws. It's the internet. It's the World Wide Web. Good luck with having a law that's going to stop AI doing stuff when you can't even stop a social media platform from putting porn onto their platform that children can access. That they can't do that with Twitter. So how can they? And then you've got war. What's he going to do? What's he going to do about Putin? Is he going to launch an invasion against Moscow? No, of course he's not. And what's he going to do about migration? He's going to make some more people come here. Of course he is. It's part of his Stop the Boats campaign that's seen over 1,800 people coming here since they voted for it. 1,800 people. We stopped the boats. Wow. So yeah, he's not going to do any of that. But what we could do something about, what the government could do something about, what you can do something about, and I can do something about, is global warming. All of us can play a part in it. But it will bloody help if the government put rules on industry and agriculture and transportation to say, we've got a goal to get to by this date. We want this to be clean. We want this to be efficient. We want a situation where everyone can just charge their car wherever they park it. You park your car, there is a plug there. You plug it in and you go shopping for 20 minutes. And then, oh my God, your car is charged when you go to the supermarket, when you go to town. I know people who live in terrace streets would find it difficult to plug in at the side of the road. But reality is that when we have fast chargers, it takes 20 minutes to charge up. if we had every single parking space in a supermarket with a fast charger. You go to the supermarket once a week, you charge it up. Unless you're going on a big journey somewhere, you don't need more than that for just getting around town, the amount of journeying that most people do. But the thing with electricity is it's everywhere. You don't have to set up the infrastructure in terms of like petrol stations. The infrastructure's already there. That would be a great step. How about cleaning up our water? How about cleaning up our air and supporting the ULEZ policy that the Tories introduced? The Tory policy of ULEZ, that they made this big thing in the mayoral campaign of like, oh, we're going to stop ULEZ. And did they win? Did they, buggery? Because people want a brighter future. So we've got global warming. We've got the economy. The economy. That's the biggest threat right now to our livelihood immediately, because our economy hasn't grown in 17 years. It has gone down from around $50,000 per person to around $45,000 per person per capita gross domestic product, GDP. It's gone down under the Tories because they don't know what they're doing. Our economy is still worth about $3 trillion, but our population has increased from 60 million to 68 million. That's the problem right there. And we've put up barriers to trade with our biggest neighbours. Like, they've done everything in their power to screw us up environmentally and economically. That's the threat that's facing us. And the Tories, another 5 years of them, they're not going to help us with either of them. Labour might. Hey, I'm not saying they will, but the idea that Rishi Sunak's going to come swoop in as the saviour of the country, it's for the birds. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. That's really kind. The cost of living crisis, the NHS flat on its face, sewage dumping, schools crumbling, criminals being released early from prison. We're not safe with the Tories. Couldn't agree more. And on that bombshell, I'm going to go. And I'm going to just, before I go, I'm going to tell you about a new show that we're going to be launching soon on Labour Social here. And it's based on James O'Brien's book, How They Broke Britain. We're going to make a show called How We Fix Britain. And I want you to come along on this show. I'll do some trails for it and stuff so you know when it's going to be on. But essentially, we are going to set up what is going to be a big think tank. I've always wanted to set up a think tank, and you're going to be a member of it. I'm going to be a member of it. I'm going to get guests on. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a different issue each week and what we could do to fix it. We're going to call it How We Fix Britain. Because I need something positive on this channel. I'm sick of just moaning about stuff. I want to say, okay, here's some positive change that we need when it comes to the environment, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to voting systems, when it comes to health systems, how we can do it better. And I'm sure between us all, and maybe we'll write it down. Maybe we'll get AI to write a book out by Christmas called How We Fix Britain, because it needs to be done. Hope we don't get sued by James O'Brien for stealing his title for his book. It's not quite the same. Anyway, so look out for that. But until then, Phil will be back tomorrow for Morning Brew at 9:30, and Ollie and I will be back. Ollie Bowler Hatman will be back tomorrow at 7:30 in the evening for Geoscope, and that show segues straight in. Segues, is that the right word? Straight into Max's show at 8:30. So if you're watching our show, you'll automatically be redirected at the end of the show to go and watch Max. So that's a nice little feed in. We feed into each other. That's the way it's going to work from now on. So thanks very much for watching. Look out for all that on the horizon. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.